bread. This
area. But anyway, this, of course, will go on. Hopefully we'll get more details tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this very special edition of On the Record live from Rock Creek Park, where earlier today the remains of Chandra Levy were found. Have a good night.
The O'Reilly Factor from Los Angeles is on tonight. A big break in the Chandra Levy case. Police say they have her body. We'll have the very latest and the implications of the discovery. President Bush in Europe tonight, and the demonstrators are out in force. What the heck do these people want from us anyway? And Senator John Kerry from Massachusetts will speak out for the first time about the Cardinal Law situation. Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. The Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Good evening, I'm Kieran Chetry. It is the worst nightmare for the family of Chandra Levy. Her remains were found in Rock Creek Park, just a few miles from her D.C. apartment. A man walking his dog made the discovery this morning. The remains found include a human skull, along with pieces of women's clothing. Police investigating the case still have not named any suspects. Vice President Dick Cheney saying the latest terror warnings have nothing to do with recent criticism about what President Bush knew prior to September 11th. Cheney also saying that the White House is not raising the nationwide terrorism alert status. It's currently at yellow because intelligence on any possible attacks is just too vague. A man opened fire, wounding 2 people at the New Orleans airport today. He told investigators he fired because people were making fun of his turban. One victim is in guarded condition. Another was hit in the hand. Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl was driven around for hours and passed from one vehicle to another the night he disappeared in Karachi. That information comes from 3 suspects now in custody. Pakistani authorities are still waiting to learn if remains found last Friday in Pakistan are Pearl's. And that is our update. We're back again for you coming up at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kieran Chetry. The O'Reilly Factor is coming up next right here on the Fox News Channel. Bill has the latest on the Chandra Levy case up next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly reporting tonight from Los Angeles. Thanks for watching us. No Talking Points memo this evening because of the breaking story about Chandra Levy. Police say they have found her body in a Washington, D.C. park close to her house. We have team coverage on this. We're going to begin in New York with senior correspondent Rita Cosby, who's been following the hard news aspect. Then we're going to go to Sven Jones in Washington, D.C., who's a close friend of Chandra's. And then we will go later on to the site of the discovery and talk with one of our correspondents there. All right, so Rita, you've been following the case, and we talked on the Radio Factor earlier today. But what I'm not clear about is the body that they discovered that the police now say is Chandra Levy's. Was that buried in this park? How could they overlook it because they swept through that park?
Well, that was my first question to the D.C. police chief, and I spoke with him. I also spoke to the assistant chief today, and they said, look, we look like we may have just missed it. I mean, they're saying that it does not appear at this point, and of course this is still very early on, Bill, but they're saying it doesn't appear that it was in a shallow grave, but they do say that it was in a very thickly wooded area, a lot of rocks in that area. And they say, look, this is a big park. It's Rock Creek Park. It's located just a few miles away from Chandra Levy's apartment, also close to Gary Condit's apartment, pretty centrally located there in Washington. And they're saying, look, we may have just missed it. We had tons of police recruits out there, FBI agents, dogs, everybody scouring that area. But it is a little bit off the beaten path, and it is possible we missed it.
Well, if they missed it, it's a giant screwed up. So let's get that on the record. Now, who discovered the body, Rita? How did it happen?
It was a walker. It was somebody who was hiking, and actually his dog sniffed it out, and his dog alerted the walker that there's something peculiar here. The walker came over and said, look, first he found a skull, then he found some skeletal remains. He called the police, and the police immediately, in fact, it was interesting, Bill, I mean, as soon as I talked to police officials this morning, they said there's a good chance it's her because there was clothing. My sources are telling me that there was a sports bra found, there was sneakers found, there were sweatpants found, a Sony Walkman, all items that looked like they belonged to Chandra Levy.
Okay, now, when the jogger found the body, they called the D.C. police, and they quickly called in the FBI to do forensics. But after a year, Rita, after a year, if this body, first of all, I can't believe that the body wasn't buried anyway. I mean, I just can't believe that there's a skull and bones laying in a park like this near a trail, and for a year nobody saw anything. So I assume it was in a shallow grave, an erosion.
Exactly,
kinda,
very well may have done that.
Yeah, took the topsoil off and this and that. But what can you get? I mean, are your guys in D.C. and in the FBI saying that they can get anything after a year?
They're saying they can, believe it or not, because they're saying, I mean, DNA right now, forensics is pretty incredible. They were able to identify her through dental records because they were able to obtain dental records almost immediately after she disappeared. Pretty quick match. They were able to ID it. Obviously, the clothing, a number of these other things were fairly consistent. But they're saying they're going to now check the scene around the area. The skeletal remains were scattered about. It's not quite clear. That could have been, I mean, there's a number of animals, a number of other things could have interfered with the crime scene. But they're saying there could be possibly hairs. There could have been some other DNA at the scene that is not hers. So they think that they may get some leads now.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if they did, but, you know, who knows?
Yeah, it's been a long time. We can only hope for the family's sake.
Science is incredible these days, and it's a huge case. We discussed earlier on the radio a very fascinating part of this case, and I want to set it up. When police went to Chandra Levy's apartment, they found her computer records, and they could tell what she was looking at before she left her apartment. One of the things that she was looking at was a mansion inside this park. Would you take it from there?
Yeah, indeed. She was surfing. In fact, that's the last known activity that Chandra Levy had. It was on May 1st last year, and for basically about 9 a.m. to a little after noon, close to 1 p.m. Eastern time, she was surfing the web. That's the last known indication that she was alive and doing any sort of activity that day. She was calling up a number of websites that day, a number of committees which Gary Condit served on. And also she called up Rock Creek Park and clicked on a site for Klingel Mansion, which is an area, this is sort of a historic mansion that's now turned into a museum there in Rock Creek Park. So immediately investigators went to that site. As we talked about, they scoured the area, clearly missed this one.
How far from Klingel Mansion was the body found?
This was about a mile or so, Bill.
A mile from
but they say they checked this specific area. They said we looked pretty close to this area. They said they scoured basically the whole park because they pinpointed Klingel Mansion because of that website surfing. So they said that, look, we may have missed this area. It's a little bit off the beaten path. I asked, look, is it possible that someone could have planted the body after the fact, or was it in a shallow grave? They said, look, it may have been in a shallow grave. There's no indications yet at that point of this. And I also said, what was the indication that it had been there for some time? They said there were a lot of leaves on top indicating that it looks like it had been there through fall and possibly through winter.
Okay. Let's go to Mr. Jones, Sven Jones, who's a friend of Chandra Levy's. Now, it looks like, Mr. Jones, that Ms. Levy was jogging, but you have said before that she wasn't an avid jogger. Any reaction to that?
That's correct. As we spoke earlier, I didn't see her as somebody that would jog religiously. It was something that would be sort of out of character for her.
Really? So she wasn't somebody who went out on a daily basis and ran around the park where she was discovered?
Yeah, I mean, she may have done it on occasion, but certainly didn't embrace jogging as something that was personally enriching.
Okay. Now, do you have any reaction to the discovery today? Because you were one of the people who came out and said, look, I spoke to Chandra Levy about Gary Condit, her relationship with him. You know the details. You're a confidant of Miss Levy's. What's your reaction today?
It's the same as I maintained in the past. I think that from what she spoke of her romantic interest, she never mentioned him by name to me. And as a friend, it wasn't necessarily important for me to know exactly who it was, other than to offer whatever feedback I might be able to offer. Mm-hmm. She spoke of him in a very warm way. The identifiers that would raise a flag with regard to someone being hostile or violent or have an ill temper just simply didn't come up in our conversations.
All right, but you did say that she wanted to marry him. Yes. That she was putting pressure on him to dump the wife and go up with her. Yes. And all of these things that happened around the time when the pressure was rising, Condit's wife was coming out, all of that. Any second thoughts on that?
Again, it's really difficult to project out. From the information that she gave me, it was not something that came to mind immediately. And I certainly wouldn't have given advice to her regarding her relationship if I thought this person was dangerous.
Okay. Mr. Jones, thank you very much. Rita, will you continue to stand by? We're going to take a short break now. I'm going to come back with Greta Van Susteren, who lives only blocks away from where Chandra Levy was discovered. We'll talk to Greta and Rita as we continue on The Factor from Los Angeles.
Most air conditioners start losing efficiency almost as soon as you install them. American Standard Allegiance air conditioners keep their high efficiency longer, years longer. American Standard Air Conditioning.
It's not about answering the questions, but about questioning the answers. The all-new Aereo SX from Suzuki. It has more standard horsepower than Honda Civic, Ford Focus, or Toyota Matrix, plus all the room you're looking for. In my car. You knew this was coming. You just didn't know from where. Introducing the new Suzuki Aereo SX. Drive on. Lease a Suzuki Aereo SX today for $219 per month with only $19.19 to start.
Something amazing is happening. It will change the way you bake your cookies, sweeten your cereal, even drink your coffee. It's Splenda no-calorie sweetener. It's made from sugar, so it tastes like sugar, but it's not sugar. It's Splenda no-calorie sweetener. Pretty amazing, huh?
At FoxSports.com, our fantasy sports are just a little different. Introducing Reggie Jackson's Fantasy Baseball. Play a new game every day. Win big cash every day. Got it? Play every day, win every day. Only at FoxSports.com.
All right, ladies, hit the showers.
Continuing now with the Chandra Levy story, it's breaking. Police have found her body in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C., and Greta Van Susteren lives a couple of blocks away from that park. She joins us now from the location of the crime scene. So, Greta, you know, we've covered all the basics, the who, when, what, where, and why, but you see something odd about this case. What is that?
Well, I'll tell you what strikes me. Where I am standing now is a short distance from where they found her skeletal remains. About 1 mile south of me is the Klingo Mansion, which was on her computer. Apparently, she was looking at it on the day that she vanished. About 3 miles beyond that is her apartment. Now, I heard Mr. Jones say that she wasn't necessarily a huge jogging enthusiast. If she was going to do this jogging routine, she would have to, it's an 8-mile round trip. I'm curious what she was doing way up here. What lured her way up here? Was it jogging, or was it to meet someone? That strikes me as odd. Number two, her body was not found on... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Greta.
The other thing that strikes me is that she was not on the jogging path, so I don't think it's necessarily a natural cause. I don't think anyone thinks it's natural causes, but a young woman could have a heart attack theoretically and die from jogging, but she was never found, of course. She was pulled off it. Finally, there's another thing, is that she's not the only woman in the Washington area to disappear jogging. There was a man who was picked up a short time after she disappeared, about 5 weeks after she disappeared, and he was later convicted for killing a jogger, a woman much farther up the road in Rock Creek Park, all the way into Maryland. I would estimate about 15 miles from here. But nonetheless, it's not unusual for a woman jogger, unfortunately, at least it's not unheard of, for a woman jogger to be murdered while out jogging in the city. So I'm struck by that. I want to hear from the medical examiner, too.
Right. Something struck me earlier, and we talked about it on the radio with Rita Cosby, who's also standing by in New York. When you download something on your computer or look for something, you're wanting information. Okay. Now, if this girl was just, Chandra Levy was just going out for a jog, Greta, I mean, why would she want to look at the mansion? All right. She's just going out for a jog. I know the area, I know the woods and this and that. I don't do speculative news, but I think the police have to look into the possibility that somebody called her and said, meet me at this mansion. All right. I'll meet you here at a certain time. And she was looking up to find out how to get there. and then she decided however to get there. Since she took her Walkman and she took her knapsack and all of that, it looks like, she was there on foot. So I think that possibility of that, and try to trace the calls, if any calls came in at the precise time or around the time that she left. Now, Rita, did you get any information on a call sheet that day that would lead us to believe there was a pattern of events that led her to go to this mansion?
No, just that she initially logged on to a number of websites that belonged to Gary Kahn, a number of different committees that he was on, so it looked like she was checking some background about him. Then she logged on to Rock Creek Park, and then specifically clicked onto Klingel Mansion. So it does look, as you were pointing out, that she was looking specifically at this location. I also want to point out something Sven Jones was talking about, not knowing if she jogged or not. I talked to a lot of people very close to Chandra Levy today, including Linda Zansky, her aunt, and a number of others, and they say she did jog and once in a while would walk, so this wouldn't be unusual, but they do still believe that she was probably going out there to meet someone. Another point that's important, Bill, this I think is very interesting. I just talked to D.C. Assistant Police Chief Terry Gaynor, and I said, what does this all mean, where you found the body? And he said, it means we have to go back still to see who knew her, because she may have been meeting someone, also to look at sex offenders in the area. He said, look, a lot of people used Rock Creek Park. It was a frequent place. One thing that I think is pretty interesting, and not to infer anything from this, but San Francisco Chronicle on December 18th, 1996 was doing a profile on Gary Kahn. Let me read you the quote. It says, he keeps a bicycle stashed in his office to take off through Rock Creek Park during legislative lulls. So a lot of people use Rock Creek Park.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Wait,
and
there's one other thing, Bill, to add to what Rita said. And again, the police have said that the congressman is not a suspect. But let's face it, the geography of the city is such that the area in which the congressman had a condominium is not too far away from where we are. It's only about 2 miles up on the other side of the park. So I mean, geographically, it doesn't mean that he committed a murder, but that is a
have to check it out. Look, we're not accusing anybody of anything.
And
now, Rita,
another thing that's interesting too, and Greta and you and I spoke about this, we still have not gotten a full accounting of what Gary Condit did that day. Yet to this day, he says he was on the phone with constituents. He said he met his wife, but we still have not gotten an hour by hour.
Rita, I got a very specific question here. Do you know, or do you have access to information about phone calls coming in and out of Chandra Levy's house that day? Do we know that there have been phone calls made about the time she disappeared, and who made them?
We do know that there were a series of calls the day before. We do not know specifically the records that day.
Why not? Are the police keeping them quiet?
Police have kept some of those quiet, and they also said that there was not a lot of activity on the phone that day, which was interesting.
Okay. Now, Greta, you're there.
Bill, Bill's...
Go ahead,
yeah,
Greta.
I'm here.
What's
interesting, Bill, here is that let me just say one other thing, is that with this crime scene here, is that whoever murdered her, if it's a murder, may have left a clue here, and that could be on her clothing. The weather is brutal, but fibers stick to fibers, and so there may be a lot of clues on her clothes here.
Yeah, we went over that, but, we know we have amazing science, but a year, if indeed she was out there for a year, we don't know that, but it looks like she was out there for a good amount of time. All right, ladies, we appreciate you helping us out. If anything happens in the body of this broadcast, we will come back to the story. Right now, summing up, police have found the body of Chandra Levy in Rock Creek Park, Washington, D.C. They found a skull and some skeletal remains. They were called in by a jogger with a dog. There was a knapsack. There were clothing items. There was a Walkman. She has been positively identified by dental records, and now the crime scene is being gone over to see if they can come up with any clues. Coming up next on The Factor, demonstrators meet President Bush in Europe. We'll talk with a German diplomat who met with the president today. Right back.
Every car has its moment. This one has thousands per second. The BMW 3 Series.
In a valley near a river, there's a place called Perfect. In Perfect, everyone wakes up smiling. There is no wrong side of the bed. Underwear never turns pink. And a baker's dozen is 14. Of course, we don't live anywhere near perfect, so we have Walgreens, open every day, many 24 hours, where we can get what's needed for the real world. That's life. This is Walgreens.
If you're over 50, this message is for you. Over time, if undetected, colorectal cancer becomes a killer. But screening tests can find it early when treatment is most effective. Even better, this is one cancer you can prevent. Screening finds precancerous polyps that can be removed before they turn into colorectal cancer. So stop this disease in its tracks. Medicare and many insurance plans help pay for screening. See your doctor and screen for life.
The lawn will look great by the time you get back, I promise.
It'll take a new lawn to keep that promise.
Your grass got you down? Keep that promise with the new and affordable lawn exchange from ProGrass. ProGrass, your Northwest lawn experts for decades, are pros at turning trouble lawns into gorgeous grass. Lawn exchange is affordable and fast. We're done in a day. Your new lawn is just a call away, so order the lawn exchange at 800 ProGrass. ProGrass, we build lawns from the ground up.
The best things are popping up at Furniture Outlet.
Great style. Great selection. Not to mention low prices.
On everything. And this month, save even more during our anniversary sale.
No payment. No interest until October 2002.
So now's your chance.
And don't get stung by paying too much. Get what you want at a price you want. Only at Furniture Outlet. The friendly and fun place to save.
In the Impact segment tonight, President Bush sleeping in Germany this evening, and there's no question in my mind that many Europeans are jealous of the United States. We are, after all, the most powerful nation in the history of the world, and sometimes we're pretty arrogant about that. But these constant anti-American demonstrations in Europe, are they insulting to President Bush and to us? I think they might be. And they're almost inexplicable when you realize how much the United States helps Europe. Joining us now from Berlin, Germany, is the German ambassador to the United States, Wolfgang Ischinger, who greeted President Bush today upon his arrival in Berlin. Mr. Ambassador, is it just Saddam Hussein? We want to get him. Some Europeans don't want military action. What is it? Why the demonstrations?
Well, I think let's try to put this into perspective, Bill. You know, the first thing to remember is that without the help of the United States to keep Berlin part of the free world, the people who demonstrate today in Berlin wouldn't demonstrate, they would be in jail. So, I mean, you helped preserve the right to express, you know, one's view in Berlin and in much of Europe. That's the first thing to remember. The second thing is, most of these people are not really going out there to demonstrate against America per se. I think the large majority of them are the same kinds of people whom you have seen in the streets of Seattle, Washington, D.C., Genoa in Italy, remember those scenes, and elsewhere. They are frustrated with the German government and with the European Union and with the United States and with globalization and with a number of other things.
All right, so they're basically
I think Americans need to understand.
They're basically left-wing anarchists, and we understand that. But there is an issue in Europe about Saddam Hussein. And frankly, I can't quite understand it, Mr. Ambassador. If this man gets a hold of nuclear weapons, and by all intelligence accounts, British, American, Chinese, he's trying.
And German.
And German. Oh, I'm glad to hear you admit that. This is the first time that I heard that the German intelligence agencies concur. So why would anybody in Europe not want to forcibly remove this man?
Well, again, I think we agree on a lot on this issue also. We agree there's a threat. We agree that the United States and European partners, we agree that Saddam Hussein has to comply with the rules defined by the UN Security Council. The United States and others just, you know, adopted another.
I know, but Mr. Ambassador, we know all that, but it's way beyond that now. We're after 9/11, with the attack on America, we can't fool around anymore with him hiding weapons here and we're looking there. No, if the man is trying to develop nuclear weapons with his record of using gases on the Kurds, of invading Kuwait. He has got to go. Why don't you guys see that?
Well, let me tell you this. I think that many Europeans simply understand that they live much closer to that region than you Americans. That means two things. The threat is very real for us also, and we know that. But if we do something about it, and if it goes wrong, we are going to be the ones to suffer first. If the Middle East blows up in a major conflagration, if the Middle East crisis, develops into a regional war, the entire Mediterranean basin, Italy, France, Portugal, Greece, and the rest of us in Europe will suffer enormously.
All right,
so there is a great
Mr. Ambassador,
Can we contain this?
You can't run foreign policy out of fear. And that's what it sounds like. You guys are afraid of what might happen. And you just can't deal with tyrants and killers in that regard. I'll give you the last word, Mr. Ambassador.
Well, I don't underestimate the Europeans. I think we went all the way with America on Afghanistan. My country sent soldiers, thousands of them, to Afghanistan because we knew this was the right thing to do. We had a plan. We agreed on the strategy, and we know we did and we continue to do the right thing. On the Iraq issue, how best to do it, I think we just haven't had enough serious strategic debate. Do we have an exit strategy? For how many years, if we do it militarily? For how many years would our forces need to stay in that country? How are we going to get out again? Are we sure we can do it? These are questions that have not yet really been debated fully in Europe. So there is this concern, but, I don't think that your viewers should have the impression that we're simply running away from a problem. We're really concerned about it, and we welcome President Bush, and we want to talk to him about it in a serious way. We are America's best partners.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for staying up late for us in Berlin, and we appreciate it very much. Plenty more ahead as a factor continues besieging from Southern California. What do those in business of protecting children think about our politicians not getting involved in fighting sexual abuse? We'll find out. And Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts on Saddam Hussein and his home state of Massachusetts, cardinal law, as we continue.
At Michelin, our tires are rigorously tested. They're laser checked, X-rayed for structural integrity. And finally, no tire leaves the factory without a thorough hand inspection. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
This is good.
No, this is really good.
This is like private island good.
No, this is like long massage good.
This is first kiss good.
Shoe shopping good.
I'd like to thank the Academy good.
Oh, this is so good, I'm actually in pain.
Rich, creamy Yoplait yogurt. It is so good.
Oh, this is bad.
Experience the new National Geographic Channel. Spectacular new shows. Around-the-clock adventure. The continuing story of life on Earth every day of the week. A new channel. A new National Geographic. Log on to nationalgeographic.com and request the new NGC. Always wonder.
Meet Americans who stand ever ready to help the families of the fallen heroes of Special Ops. Then, stranded in shark-infested waters, the amazing story of the survivors of the USS Indianapolis. Plus, America's premier military institution celebrates 200 years. We take you to West Point. It's a special edition of Heroes with John Kasich. This weekend, with new terror threats and growing fears, can our government really keep America safe? We ask Condoleezza Rice. That's this week on Fox News Sunday with Tony Snow. Check your local listings.
In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, why is the U.S. government not doing anything about Mexican soldiers shooting at U.S. Border Patrol agents? Last night we told you about an incident last Friday in Ajo, Arizona, where a Mexican Army Humvee illegally entered this country, and soldiers inside that vehicle almost killed a U.S. Border Patrol agent who had to flee because they were shooting at him. Joining us now from Tucson is Border Patrol Agent Edward Tuffley, president of the National Border Patrol's Council local chapter in Tucson, which covers the district where the shooting took place. Agent Tuffley has been with the Border Patrol for more than 16 years and talked with the agent who got shot at just today. How is he doing?
He's fairly traumatized, but he's actually going back to work today as we speak.
And he was trying to get away from this Humvee, right? I mean, he wasn't challenged. He was just, and they shot at him anyway.
Correct, but he saw the soldiers, he saw the rifles. He turned around and tried to leave the area. As he was leaving, he heard and felt the back window of his vehicle explode. The bullet entered the vehicle, it ricocheted off the prisoner partition, which is behind the driver, and exited out a driver's side window. That window exploded as well. The agent then crouched down in his vehicle and obviously sped away at a high rate of speed.
How deep were they in the USA? How many, were they a half mile in, or where were they?
Well, the information I have, Bill, is that the soldiers actually, it hasn't been determined that they were actually in the country. They were right on the border, right along the border fence.
All right, because we got a report yesterday they were inside, and we don't know why they were inside. We don't know if it's narcotics related or what, right?
Correct. And the report you're referring to is probably earlier in the day. There was a report from the Indian police. This took place on a reservation.
That's right.
And that the military soldiers were in the United States.
Inside the Indian reservation, and they called you guys for help.
Correct.
All right. So let's assume they were in the United States, because those guys know their reservation pretty well. Now, here's something that's amazing. It took the INS 4 days to release this information. It happened Friday night, 8:30 p.m., and they did not release anything about it until Tuesday. All right? Yesterday, we had it immediately. Why the lag? I mean, what was that all about?
Well, that's the question we would like to have answered as well, Bill. We're concerned that this information isn't getting out to the public timely, and that they don't realize what's going on, and that our agents are down there getting shot at by Mexican soldiers when all the agents are doing is performing their jobs.
Now, Congressman Tancredo from Colorado told us last night there have been almost 200 incidents where Mexican authorities have shot at you guys in the last 5 years. Is that true?
I don't know that what he was probably referring to was incursions from Mexican soldiers into the United States. We've had 3 shootings in the last 2 years approximately. In March of 2000 near El Paso, documented Mexican soldiers chasing Border Patrol agents inside the United States, shooting at them. October of 2000, the same thing in San Diego, Mexican soldiers inside the United States shooting at Border Patrol agents. And here we are again, May of 2002, the same thing's going on, and we don't see anything being done, and we're asking for some accountability.
All right, now when you say you don't see anything being done, is that at the federal level? You don't think that the Bush administration wants to ruffle the feathers of Vicente Fox, the president of Mexico? Is that what's going on here?
There may be some trepidation. I believe that the Mexican government, obviously, they have to be held accountable for what they're doing. They demand it of our agents, and we should demand the same thing of them. I believe it's obvious that President Bush is reaching out to the Mexican government, but you know, our agents should be taken care of, and that's what we're asking for.
That's right.
Some accountability.
I mean, is this mostly narcotics traffic, do you believe?
Correct. I believe there was narcotics trafficking in that area at the time, and I believe that this was related to narcotics trafficking.
Right. The soldiers are paid to protect the smugglers who are coming across the border. One last question, Mr. Tuffley. I've called, as you know, on this broadcast many, many times for the military to back you guys up, to give you help, so this won't happen. Are you for that?
I'm for that. I'm for all the help we can give, but we need vehicles. We need equipment. We have officers sitting around in offices. They can't even go out and patrol the border because they don't have a vehicle to drive. Many of the vehicles we do have are worn out, extremely high mileage, and we need some help. And I would reach out to anybody that could offer us some help and perhaps get us some vehicles.
And you guys are supposed to be protecting us down there from people coming into this country who want to hurt us. Mr. Tuffley, thanks very much. Coming up, Senator John Kerry of Massachusetts on Saddam Hussein and cardinal law in his home state as we continue from L.A.
Good evening, I'm Kieran Chetri. The 13-month search for Chandra Levy is over. Her body was found in a park a few miles from her D.C. apartment. Fox's Claudia Cowan has more from Modesto.
A very sad day here at the Levy's home in Modesto as their worst fears about Chandra are confirmed. It was a day that began just like the past 387 days. Bob and Sue Levy holding on to a glimmer of hope that their daughter was still alive. But throughout the day, painful details about the remains found in D.C. were telephoned to the family directly from the police chief until late today when the remains were positively identified.
While certainly today's news, the death of their daughter, provides some resolution, it certainly does not provide answers to what happened to Chandra. So we will continue that quest to find out what happened in this case.
Spokeswoman Judy Smith says this is a home of tears and disbelief. The family is not expected to have any statement or announce any plans for a memorial service for at least several days while they cope with the most horrifying news any parent can get. What we have been told is that the Levys will continue to show the same kind of resolve that we have seen throughout this ordeal until they get the full answers to what happened to their daughter and who might be responsible. In Modesto, Claudia Cowan, Fox News.
And that's our update. The O'Reilly Factor continues next.
Now's the best time to buy a Suzuki XL7 with the powerful V6 engine. Third row of seats, rear air conditioning. Plus, the Suzuki XL7 received a highest overall rating of good under the conditions of a recent IIHS crash test.
Oh, A+. Plus. Who's next?
Now lease an XL7 Plus for $269 a month with 2019 to start.
It was not my dream to retire here. To the place where a couple first met.
I'm good, thanks.
Married. And always planned to return. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention, and it became my own. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley, one client at a time.
Abner, we're rich.
We're rich?
It's our new litter. It's got diamonds in it.
Diamonds! What's a diamond?
A diamond is a very valuable...
You are mistaken, my friends. The diamonds are crystals in Tidy Cat's Crystals Blend. The clay traps moisture, the crystals eliminate odor, and that is the only reason I agreed to live here with the likes of you.
Whatever.
Tidy Cat's Crystals Blend.
I still think they're diamonds.
Breast cancer does happen to young women. At the Young Survival Coalition, we're fighting to save women's lives through awareness, advocacy, and action. For more information about our efforts and how you can help, check our website, www.youngsurvival.org.
In a personal story segment tonight, Senator John Kerry from Massachusetts, a contender for the presidency in 2004. One of the reasons many in Europe are angry with the United States, as we said, is that it is clear President Bush is going to go after Saddam Hussein. And Senator Kerry was one of the few people on the Hill who felt that the Gulf War in 1991 could have been handled a little bit differently. He voted against the military action because he wanted more time for Americans to come together about the war and things like that. Senator Kerry joins us now from Washington. The ambassador to Germany is basically saying what most people in Europe are saying, Senator, and they're afraid. They're afraid that if we go after Saddam Hussein and all the Arabs get crazy and the whole thing blows up, that Europe's going to take the brunt of this. I say you can't negotiate with tyrants out of fear. How do you feel about it?
I agree with you. I mean, first of all, let me just say I want to thank you for announcing me for 04 well before any decisions
I said
made,
you're a contender. Come on, you're raising money. Oh, this is the no-spin zone, Senator. We know what you're up to.
It. Bill, I think that you're correct in making that judgment, and I think we've all reached a judgment that obviously the United States has to protect our national security interests, and we have to do what we think is right. I do think the European demonstrations are larger than just Iraq. I think they're concerned about other issues like global warming. They're concerned about proliferation. They're concerned about, there are a whole host of issues. So I think it's a more confused bag than just Iraq. But I think they're wrong on Iraq. Plain and simply, the United States will have to do what we need to do in our best judgment to protect our national security. And quite frankly, if we do what we need to do, it will also wind up protecting Europe.
Yeah, that's right. And Europe has lost a lot of credibility. Let's face it. We had to go in and solve the Bosnia situation. We had to go in and get Milosevic out of there. They should have done both of those things. They have lost a lot. And, they say, oh, you don't consult with us. Bush is unilateral. And I understand the diplomatic game, believe me. And I know Clinton was a genius at that game. And he coddled them and made them feel important. Bush doesn't really do that. But let's face it, Senator, we're carrying the ball for these people time and time and time again.
I think a lot of Americans feel that way, and I think a lot of Europeans are, I've talked to many people over there who wish the leadership was more willing to stand up on this. I think there is a sense that the United States acts unilaterally sometimes. I think there's an envy. One can feel that envy, a lack of consultation. There was even in Kosovo a very significant backlash because of the degree to which the United States had to lead, and even the members of NATO felt somewhat disgruntled by the fact that even within NATO they weren't able to, in a sense, keep up. So I think there's a certain amount of backlash from all of our success. What we need to do is manage that effectively, and I think some of the other initiatives that we haven't, frankly, been very good on, like global warming, are not handling it very effectively.
They can't hurt us economically. That's the problem. We got to look out in a recession for American people. Now, I want to get to this Massachusetts thing because, as you know, Senator, I've been leading this charge to have Cardinal Law resign. I don't think he should be there. I am a long-time resident of Massachusetts, and I feel terrible for those children. And I said on this program that if you and Senator Edward Kennedy would come out and say that Cardinal Law should resign, all right, and pay a price for allowing these pedophile priests to run around, that the cardinal would have to resign if the two powerful senators came out and said it. Kennedy will not do that, will you?
Well, Bill, I respect what you've been saying. I've actually listened and I've heard you clearly, and I respect the position that you've taken. In 18 years in the United States Senate and 2 as lieutenant governor of our state, I've always made it clear to people who ask me that I respect the First Amendment of our country. I respect the separation of church and state. You don't have me on this show as John Kerry Catholic. You have me on this show as John Kerry United States Senator. And as a United States Senator, I believe deeply in the separation of church and state.
But that's fine, but you're also an American. You're also an American, Senator, and you have the right to speak out about injustice.
And I have spoken out. Let me just finish, Bill. I want to make this very, very clear. I think the cardinal has an enormous credibility problem. I've said that publicly. I think the church, regrettably, is going to have to take extraordinary steps to heal, but also to restore the trust that people want to have and need to have with respect to it. That is going to be exceedingly difficult under the current circumstances. Now, I just think that whatever communication I convey to the cardinal or the church with respect to this ought to be between me as a member of the church and as a private citizen, privately to them at this moment.
Let me tell you why I disagree, and I'll give you the last word.
Well,
all
I
right?
I know you do.
I disagree so strongly on this that it makes me crazy. We have very few leaders in this country, Senator, and our leaders have one mandate: to protect the people of the United States, and most of all, the most defenseless people, the children. All right? Absolutely. A private correspondence between you and Cardinal Law and Senator Kennedy and Cardinal Law does the children no good at all. What does the children good? Here's what does the children good, and this is in Florida with Relia Wilson and everywhere else, is for powerful people like you, Senator, to say, we will not accept behavior like this from a cardinal or the lowest thug in the land. We will demand justice. We will demand that they pay the price for their actions. If everyone did that in power, Senator, we'd have a lot less child molestation. I'll give you the last word.
Bill, the child molestation is not going to take place now. It happened. it is in the past. And the Boston Globe and a host of people, very significant players in our church, have called on the Cardinal to resign. But I play a different role, as does Senator Kennedy. I'm a United States Senator. I'm a government official. I'm a federal government official. And we have fought long and hard to separate and honor the separation of church and state. I believe that I can communicate to the Cardinal what I need to as John Kerry, Catholic and citizen, but I don't think I ought to speak out at this point. Now, if those children were not being protected by the Attorney General, but they are, if those children were not being protected by the current policy of the church, but they are, if they were not being protected by the district attorneys who were not enforcing the law as they are now, if they were not in the civil process of our court system being deposed for the first time in history, then perhaps under those extraordinary circumstances we might have a different responsibility. But the fact is, the law is being upheld, the court system is being upheld, and I believe the interests of the children are now being protected, as disgraceful as those private, personal actions were previously.
Senator, we know this is the first time you've really spoken out on that. We appreciate you coming on The Factor to do that. Thanks very much. And next on the rundown, a child advocate will react to Senator Kerry's point of view in a moment as we continue from Los Angeles.
The lawn will look great by the time you get back, I promise.
It'll take a new lawn to keep that promise.
Your grass got you down? Keep that promise with the new and affordable lawn exchange from ProGrass. ProGrass, your Northwest lawn experts for decades, are pros at turning trouble lawns into gorgeous grass. Lawn exchange is affordable and fast. We're done in a day. Your new lawn is just a call away, so order the lawn exchange at 800 ProGrass. ProGrass, we build lawns from the ground up.
Well, Mr. Limbaugh, what has our little agitator been up to this week? Gluing Mrs. Brendel to her chair? Bringing in your sister's underpants for show and tell? Science project took out East Wing? Do you know where smart Alex like you end up?
On the radio?
Rush Limbaugh has moved to News Talk 620 KTLK. News Talk for the Great Northwest.
And now your host of Pizza Talk, Billy Sardell.
To all of you pizza fans who've asked the question, what will Roundtable think of next? I got the answer for you. Behold. The Mammazella pizza pie. It's the mother of all pizzas. It's freshly baked with pepperoni, salami, and linguiça. 3 cheeses, and it's topped with seasoned strips or golden crust. Oh, Mom.
The new Mammazella pizza pie is here, and it's only at Roundtable.
Hi, Pam Paulette for City Liquidators Furniture Warehouse, where you'll find a huge selection of leather in stock, ready for delivery, like this Gaucho walnut leather sofa, only $10.88, or this Italian leather sofa for $11.88. Not to mention our huge selection of leather wing backs and recliners, or this leather sofa for $6.98, or a retro leather sofa for $9.99, or this Italian beauty, only $13.88, and our #1 selling frame, only $9.99, direct from Italy. City Liquidators saves you money.
According to the Health and Human Services organization in Washington, D.C., about 100,000 American children are sexually abused every year. At least that was a statistic in the year 2001. Terrible. I wanted to bring in Kevin Kirkpatrick, who's a director of communications for Prevention of Child Abuse America. That organization looks out for kids, and get his reaction to Senator Kerry, because what Senator Kerry says, Mr. Fitzpatrick, is pretty much what the party line is separation of church and state. We shouldn't get involved in what, not only the Catholic Church, but any religion. You know, you're talking Jonestown here, too. You're talking kind of Koresh. You're talking a lot of religions that are on it. And then, I'm not saying the Catholic Church isn't. They're not. But when a crime is committed, I mean, I don't know what this is all about. So react to Senator Kerry saying that he can't get involved directly because of separation of church and state.
Well, I think that's an interesting argument to make. I'm a Catholic myself and fully supportive of the separation of church and state. But what's far more important to me is what the government, what our elected officials, what our civil and criminal justice systems could be doing about this problem and aren't. It's interesting to note that Massachusetts is one of, I believe, 24 states in this country that exempt clergy from mandated reporting of suspected child abuse and neglect. So clergy are not being mandated to report it when they suspect it's going on, which our organization believes ought to be the policy of every state. The other thing is,
and I'm with you on that. I just want to make one thing clear. I said 100,000 sexual abuse cases. That's reported. I mean, most kids who are sexually abused never report it. So we know it's much higher than that.
Actually, there were about 300,000 reports, and of those, about 90 to 100,000 were actually confirmed.
Right, but you got to assume that it's much, much higher because children are afraid, and the molesters are often in the children's family and all of this.
That's right.
But see, what I'm worried about is lack of leadership here. I don't have anything against Cardinal Law. I never met the man. I don't know Mahoney out here in Los Angeles. I met Egan in New York. He didn't impress me very much, but I don't have anything against him, okay? I don't want to see anything ill happen to these men. But I know that they allowed pedophile priests to run around and do their evil. These cardinals allowed it to happen. Now, if it were a high school principal, if it were a policeman, if it were they would have been prosecuted. So I'm saying that the politicians are running scared. They're not asking for justice in this case, and it has nothing to do with separation of church and state. Am I wrong?
No, I totally agree with you, which is why Prevent Child Abuse America last week adopted a resolution calling on the Catholic Church and all states in this country to rescind the exemption of clergy as mandated reporters of child abuse and neglect. But I think what's far more interesting here is the focus on what the church ought to be doing at a time when the focus should be at least as much on what the government ought to be doing.
Absolutely.
It's coincidental that just recently the House of Representatives passed the authorization for the Child Abuse Prevention Treatment Act, which is called CAPTA, and they increased that authorization from what had been about $166 million a year to $200 million a year, which is the full range of this country's investment in child abuse and neglect prevention programs around this country. And yet, since 1974, when this legislation was first passed, it's never been appropriated at more than 50-55% of what was authorized.
Yeah, it's certainly not a priority for many politicians. Now, why do you think? Is it the obvious? They're just scared of Catholics not voting for them? When 80% of American Catholics say they want Cardinal Law out of there, they want these guys, it doesn't seem that there's a downside for the politicians to come out and say justice must be served, these men must give up their power, and but they still won't. Do you know why?
I suspect that it's because as a concerned electorate, we don't have a history of holding our public officials accountable for the failure to protect children.
I know we don't. When I said to Jeb Bush, his people in Florida, you're doing a horrible job in the Aurelia Wilson case. Oh, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. Of course it's your fault. You appointed all these people. You went in and campaigned that you were going to clean it up, and now it's worse than ever, and it's not your fault?
It's interesting to note in the Florida case that you bring up, Florida has some wonderful programs for children and struggling families and for child abuse and neglect prevention, including a program called Healthy Families Florida that's really incredible. But they can't get funding for those programs. And yet during the same period of time that funding for these programs has been cut, there's been something like $15 billion in tax cuts in the state of Florida. It's a matter of where our priorities lie.
Yeah, and it's all, but you got to be fair to Bush in Florida. You got to be fair to Bush. He doubled the budget to protect the children, but it went to computers, and the computers don't work. I want to ask you one more question. We have 30 seconds. Do you know one politician in the United States of America that you respect for protecting children?
There are a great many, and they range from Senator Christopher Dodd in Connecticut to Congressman Tom DeLay in Texas, who's done wonderful things for protection of children. There are a good many of them.
All right,
we need
good.
a lot
I'm glad
more.
to hear that. I'm glad to hear that because I'm just so fed up with most of them that I can scream. Mr. Kirkpatrick, thank you very much. We appreciate your good work. And next, we will wrap things up with the most ridiculous item of the day and some of your men.
They have more filling. Kellogg's Pastry Swirls. They're that good.
Hurry in for the Great Pain Event going on now at True Value, where prices are dropping on brand name items throughout the store. Right now, True Value's window and door caulk is just $1.97. Premium XO Rust Spray Enamel and Ultimate Finish 9-inch roller covers, your choice, just $1.87. Plus, get up to $71 in rebates on everything you need for your painting projects. Hurry in for the Great Paint Event at True Value and get great savings throughout the store. True Value. Help is just around the corner.
For over 50 years, the research team at City of Hope has made breakthrough discoveries to help save millions of lives worldwide and help others become superheroes too. City of Hope, where the power of knowledge saves lives.
I'm Dominic Chianese. You may have seen me on TV with one of my families. On Saturday, June 1st, I'll be joining the YAI National Institute for People with Disabilities family for YAI Central Park Challenge. Call 212-273-6526.
This Sunday, we remember the battles that shaped the course of history, the heroes who embodied honor and valor, and the events that have shaped our nation and our lives. We pay tribute to America's brave and courageous servicemen and women this Sunday. Join us for a War Stories Marathon, only on the Fox News Channel. Why was she killed? How did they do it? And who's responsible? For breaking news, expert analysis, and the most comprehensive coverage, the Chandra Levy mystery on Fox News Channel.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. We knew when we asked the government to tell us about general terrorist threats against the USA that some people would overreact. We knew it. In New York City, they closed down the Brooklyn Bridge because there was an empty sack on it. Some pinhead thought the empty sack was a threat, so thousands of New Yorkers were inconvenienced while they removed the empty sack from the bridge. There's nothing you can do about this kind of insanity in a free society. Some people have poor judgment, and that's just the way it is. And finally tonight, the mail. Some conservative viewers are angry with me because I want the Bush administration to keep Americans informed about terrorist threats and because I asked Lynn Cheney some no-spin questions. C. Custer, Paducah, Kentucky. Mr. O'Reilly, Mrs. Cheney came on your program to promote her book, for crying out loud, not to be broadsided about her husband's political positions. Hey, Mrs. Custer, you must be a new viewer to The Factor. Number one, Mrs. Cheney knew we were going to ask political questions because we told her we would do that. Number two, no one comes on here with any deals about promoting anything. We're courteous. We'll mention books, movies, but we always reserve the right to ask anything we like. David Doss, Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, Bill, I watched Mrs. Cheney on your program tonight and was totally impressed. Wow, she's on top of stuff. Annette Bird, also from Nashville. Mr. O'Reilly, whatever happened to treating our presidency with respect? You are lucky to have people like Mrs. Cheney appear, and you treated her like she was no more than another person. Hey, Miss Bird, we treat everybody the same. We're respectful, but not deferential. We ask the questions that need to be asked. Dr. Steve Hooper, Kingsport, Tennessee. O'Reilly, I was ashamed of your attempt to manhandle Lynn Cheney, but thrilled to watch her woman handle you. Erica Burton, Mesa, Arizona. O'Reilly, I agree with everything you said to Mrs. Cheney. I want open government, and I want to know about threats against the USA. C.E. Pringle, Denver, Pennsylvania. Once again, O'Reilly, you're wrong. You said you know President Bush is angry with Ashcroft and Mueller for not keeping him informed about the Phoenix FBI memo. Well, according to Ari Fleischer, Bush isn't the least bit angry. Well, Mr. Pringle, you can believe who you want to believe. But I don't believe Mr. Fleischer operates in the no-spin zone. Mary Wallace, Syracuse, New York. Ashcroft and Mueller have done President Bush a great disservice by withholding information. Off with their heads. Not literally, figuratively. Joe Allen, Tampa, Florida. O'Reilly, you are becoming the man I love to hate. The man I hate to love. Sometimes you're conservative. Then you're back to the middle. I appreciate your honesty with Cheney, but feel you softball Bush at times. That's President Bush, not Jeff. Hey, Mr. Allen, we call him as we see him, and that annoys people who are locked into one ideology or the other. They want cheerleaders. But I appreciate you watching the program. Matthew Smith, Longview, Washington. Bill, get down off your pedestal and get a life. Mr. Smith, I am now begging you, get a new expression. And Kathy Barnett, Tupelo, Mississippi. Bill, I just read The No Spin Zone, I have to say. It was the best book I ever read. Well, bless you, Kathy. The No Spin Zone remains on the extended New York Times bestseller list after 9 months. I really appreciate all the support. Also, the O'Reilly Factor paperback is on bestseller list as well. And how about that website, www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. Only 2 more days left to get signed books for Father's Day. If you want them, get them in. Also, how about emailing us with some pithy comments? O'Reilly@foxnews.com, O'Reilly@foxnews.com. Name and town from anywhere in the world, and keep it pithy if you wish to opine. That is it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. Hannity and Combs will have Jim Robinson, the attorney for